Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We are coming to you live, actually live to tape, at 412 Studio in Etna. And our guest today is a return guest, Tom Mosser. And Tom is we did the Really Big Faces show, a couple shows at the Energy Innovation Center. And Tom is the guy that turned us on to all of that stuff. And that was episode 18, believe it or not. And this will be episode 58, which is, 40. 40.
I was in the top 20.
You were, yeah.
Forever.
Yeah, you were.
Like
you were, absolutely. So, well, welcome, man. Thanks for reaching out and having us back. I think it's really cool that you're doing another show, and we'll get into all of that. But so what have you been doing for the last 40 weeks or so?
Well, the past couple hours, I was cleaning up the studio. It's like the best thing to have a party at your house or something.
Yeah.
It forces you to clean up the place. So I walked in this morning and I saw it through your eyes. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff happened here. It's still.
Well, this is really cool for us because
I've been busy, but
we love these kind of settings and getting out and having different locations and showing people different kinds of things. I mean, this is a great space. It's a creative space.
Yeah. And it's 412 Studios, or it's full of music studios. And then when I walked around this morning with you, there was a band ripping it, a drummer going on. So sometimes around midnight, if I'm here working on a project late, you literally feel the building shake with people playing, and that's you feel the creativity and the energy, and you go outside and a bunch of people are having a beer or smoking a cigarette and talking. So there's a lot of creative energy.
That's important.
That's
good
and
stuff.
It's close to downtown. You jump on 28.
Yeah,
you
take it.
5 minutes away.
It's 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes.
Really kind of life changing.
Yeah. And this is an old steel mill site, right?
It is. It's the old. We're sitting in this building was the office area for the Tippins scrap steel company.
Okay.
It's old classic old steel mill building. So the one has been converted by Store Express to be a car storage and rental trucks, food trucks. You'll see there's a dog breeder, groomer truck that goes in and out every day. Then the other side of it, they gutted this whole section of huge windows, and it's a TechFlex rental space, and that's going to be amazing. Wow. So you see this going on every day. Yeah. So this building was related, the old office, to that building. So it was vacant, and so the Store Express people said, what can you do with this office space in this middle of a warehouse parking lot? Let's have music and art studios. So it's full of.
What better?
Yeah, it's full of artists. There's a couple of tattoo artists here, which they're artists. And,
absolutely, there's some great artists doing tattoos.
Yeah, there's rappers. There's a couple of violinists who play here, and there's a couple of recording studios. So
nice.
There's good energy. And everybody gets along. It's terrific. So. I spend a lot of time here, so it's good to have a welcoming place to work.
Oh yeah, and have people that you can get along with, and that you can pull from that creative energy when you're not feeling it.
Right.
Because you don't wake up every day you think I'm going to go out and create great art.
Yeah.
Right? There's got to be days you don't feel like doing it.
I wonder about that. Like, what if tomorrow I came into money and I didn't have to work anymore? What kind of art would I create? Because there is a certain amount of financial motivation.
Absolutely.
If I take a month off, the factory takes a month off in a way. You can sell merchandise and stuff and still have income coming in. But yeah, I look at my boss in the mirror every morning and say,
I'm not sure a lot of people understand what it's like to be a working artist. Right? You think, well, you do this on the side, you go maybe work in an office, you work construction, and you do this on the side. But, to be a working artist, there's an extra level of pressure, stress, right? Aside from creating a great piece.
It is, but you love what you do. It's, it's always, if I'm working on a project where it's, I don't know, could be a portrait project or a commission, and it's fun and all, it's art, but sometimes it's kind of boring. But there's a certain aspect of it where there could be a huge, tedious project, but there's certain aspects of it where you just get locked in and it just flows and the creativity happens, and 3 hours pass in a minute. So we have that. But yeah, it's like what kind of art would I do if I didn't need the money? I'd probably get people together and do fundraisers or something like which is kind of doing right now. We'll talk about, I guess. But yeah, I've done commercial illustration work back in the day, cartoon illustration for magazines, a lot of sports related work for publications, And then there's the work that you do that's fine art that you hope, you wear your black turtleneck and your beret and you say, look at my work. Don't make eye contact with me. I'm very tumultuous personality, that kind of thing. So there's commercial art and there's fine art we're doing just for the love of it. I've done tons of art where I didn't make a nickel from it. It was just creating and getting better. You're always wanting to get better.
Sure.
I'll see landscape painting, like a Monet painting, and I would think, I want to do that. I would see a cartoon illustration in a magazine. I would say, I want to do that, and I would. So eventually the market sort of dictates what you're going to work on. And if you have a deadline, that's a motivator. It gets you up in the morning. I love deadlines, and I like collaborating with like art directors, and I like doing my own stuff too. And it all sort of comes together. Like this big portrait, which we'll talk about, is essentially goes back to my pen and ink days as a kid when I drew in ink and pencil, for hours and hours. And it's like that person is still in you, that 10-year-old, that 15-year-old, that 20-year-old. They're all in there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
like, they never leave.
They never leave. And they make a lot of bad decisions for you, too. That 12-year-old is still in here. Tell me what to do.
That's
I can't listen to him.
That's who's responsible for all my dumb stuff.
I can't listen to him, My sister pushes my buttons. My 12-year-old's going, nah. I say, no, calm down. But it's like you're collaborating with the 15-year-old, the 20-year-old, the 25-year-old version of yourself, because all those skills as a writer, I tell people, whether it be a writer or a songwriter or editor or an artist, people aren't paying you for your time. They're paying you for your talent and experience. What you can do in 30 minutes, pop, 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 it's done. Somebody might say, oh, that only took you 30 minutes. I'm not going to, no, that took me 30 years to do that or whatever.
That's what you're paying for. You're paying for the 30 years, not the 30 minutes.
There was the famous artist in the 60s. He was the artist, I'm blanking out again, but that's okay. He painted in squares and rectangles. That's where he got his fame, but he did all kinds of other abstract work before that. And he was at a gallery opening and some pretentious woman came up to him and said, oh my goodness, that's a square. How long? That couldn't have taken so long. How long did that take you? And he looked at her and he smoked a cigarette and he said, it took me 50 years to make that painting. Because all the knowledge but it's true.
Bring it all together. It's very true. That is absolutely true. And writing, when I write a blog every day, and I used to write, there was a couple of years I wrote just a weekly column for a local newspaper, right? Just to help out. I didn't get paid for it. There was a local newspaper launched. It was new and they were friends of mine. And so I did it. And I did it for a couple of years. But it was a completely different type. It wasn't like the blog comes from here, right? So then I had to all of a sudden learn how to write from here, and it was completely different, and it was uncomfortable for me, right? Because it didn't flow naturally. It's
a little bit like commercial writing and fine art writing or something where it's like, I'm writing the novel and I'm creating dialogue and I'm copywriting for an advertisement or something, and you gotta like edit somebody's, totally different. And it's just like, you put that hat on and you put the other hat on. It's the same way with art. We were talking about what motivates you. It's like owning a small business. I provide a service, a product, or different kinds of products. Somebody wants this kind of product. I'm going to fulfill that order. It just so happened it's using creativity somehow.
Sure. Yeah, I get it. It's I don't think you can think creatively. I think you feel creative. If you try to paint or write or whatever from here, it's not going to come out the same. You have to feel it. You can't think through it. You got to feel through it.
It's kind of like part of what I always say is Warhol said that art is all around us. I say ideas are all around us. And absolutely. I tell this story. Absolutely. I gave my commencement speech at my high school, Huntington area high school, Bearcat. I'm a Bearcat.
There you go.
I gave it twice in 5 years because the new administration, a new set of kids reached out to me. They didn't realize I had given the commencement speech before. And I said, well, you're going to get sloppy seconds, but I'll do it again. And I did.
That's an interesting comment because that is the second Bearcat mascot I've heard. I have that jacket over there, St. Vincent College Bearcats. And that was my thing. What in the name of all things is a Bearcat? But it's a thing. It's like an actual thing. Yeah, it's a critter.
It's like a bobcat kind of Bearcat. Yeah, so cool. I was having
So now 2 schools that are Bearcats.
There's only one real one. It's the Huntington Bearcats. It's Huntington County, Central Pennsylvania. So I was having a coffee with a friend of mine, and he said, "So Tom," he's kind of like joking around with me, "you're going to give a second commencement speech?" And I said, "Yeah, me. The only job I ever had was the pirate parrot for 8 years. I I make pictures for a living. They got doctors and lawyers in my school.
That was the only real job.
But okay, I'll do it again. And he said, what word, if you had to encapsulate your speech into one word, what would that be? And I said, I have no flippin' idea. I don't know if I said flippin'. I have no flippin' idea. And then I thought, that's it, idea. That's the most important word in any language. Everything we do is an idea. Every sentence we form, every shirt we decide to wear, every school we decide to go to, where we want to eat. The fact that I wanted to go like this was an idea.
Yeah,
a subconscious idea.
Subconscious idea, sure.
That's why we like playing sports. You think about playing basketball. We're watching the Final Four tournament now. Right. Every movement on the basketball court is an idea. It's creativity between the legs. I mean, there's competition and there's strategy and all that, but it's creativity, especially with basketball. Golf, how do you get the creative thought at what club do you use to get over the tree, under the bush, through the sand trap, onto the green? It's total creative thought. And like people think, I'm a sports guy. I want to play sports. No, you're using creative thought to do that. You just
the physical aspect of sports is way down the list. People don't realize. People think sports is all physical, but it's not. You gotta think it, you gotta feel it, then your body reacts.
Exactly. I used to do I did a lot of paintings of Mario Lemieux, sports related stuff. And you work from photos, and researching him, looking at his photos, there'd be players behind him like grimacing, this literally. Especially like there was a New York Rangers defenseman who like, oh, he's behind him. And Lemieux, no matter what, completely expressionless, almost serene. Yeah. He would play with such serenity. And I think he got criticized, like, you're not lucky you're trying. He was so serene amongst all this chaos. And if whether it be facial expressions or not, they'd give it away. If you can maintain some kind of serenity, whether you're giving a speech, where you're talking on a podcast, it helps you to think creatively and also helps you to function, because you're not getting it. You lock up, your throat locks up.
People are comfortable and when they really excel, they make it look effortless, and that's they get criticized. Lemieux, Michael Jordan, all of those guys, the great ones, always were criticized for their effort when they were really giving maximum effort, but they were so good at it. They made it look effortless.
Thinking ahead with their creative thought. And people just need to give themselves permission to have ideas. We all have ideas, but write them down, acknowledge them.
And there's no bad ideas. You can't be afraid of it. There's no bad idea.
It could be an idea about using cinnamon in some kind of cooking dish instead of nutmeg or something like that. Yeah. Or it could be a big idea like, I make these amazing chocolate chip cookies from my grandmother Nana's recipe. I could market these and mass produce these. I could leave my job as a salesman and do this. That could be an idea that could be sort of life-changing. But if you have a little notepad and or your phone, just type in idea and email it to yourself under the subject line. You'll look good. You'll have 50 ideas. Say, let me see give yourself permission to make ideas. An artist, every brushstroke is an idea. Right. Kind of sort of. Idea. It's the most important word besides beer and pizza and love and puppies and some other words, but it's a big one.
It's in a top 10.
Yeah, it's in a top 10. Conversation, it's all idea based. Like, what are you going to say after I say that? You're bouncing off. Oh, that's an idea. This is what I'll say. This is, I think I'll ask this question. That's idea. Conversation is completely creative.
Absolutely. And that's what we do. We don't script. We never script the podcast. We just come down, sit down, and we have a conversation. You have something really cool to talk about that we're going to get into, but we catch up on some things, just have a random conversation, and I think that's how it flows, and that's what makes it interesting.
We're going to talk about my singing. It's spectacular.
I think you're going to sing. What are you going to sing?
No, I'm not.
One thing that I think is really cool.
I did do singing did change my life. But
is that right?
Hold that thought. What is really cool?
No, I think it's really cool what you had said to us about that box right over there, what you did, the self-portrait every day to keep yourself motivated.
Yeah.
Talk about that, because that's fascinating.
It was inspired by the movie Julie and Julia, the Meryl Streep, Julia Child, Amy Adams movie, where she cooked, the Amy Adams character cooked recipe from the Art of French Cooking every day, once a day, and a couple of times she had to do 2 recipes for 365 days. And I thought, what can I do every day artistically to sort of not that I want to do something that Meryl Streep's going to act in a movie, based on it, but something that I can do artistically every day. And I thought, I'll do a self-portrait. So I started in 2012. And a lot of them are just 3-minute studies.
Just
Some of them are
sketch.
elaborate. And I paint and draw with both hands. So there'll be a lefty, there'll be a righty. I use a thick magic marker. I'll use a thin magic marker. I'll use a pencil. I'll use a paintbrush. So a lot of different, they'll have all kinds of different looks, and you could do abstract stuff. And I did it for 1.5 years then I took 2 years off, then I did it for 2 years in a row, and now I'm on 3 years in a row. So I'm up to like 1,500 self-portraits. That's a lot of bad hair days immortalized.
No, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And even now, I'm not going to let that slide by too. You paint with both hands?
I do, and it was from playing basketball as a kid. You dribbled with both hands. You emphasized.
That's the only thing I've ever been able to do with my left hand.
And playing drums. I played drums for a couple months, and my parents said, art is much quieter. In your bedroom, we didn't have a garage, and I wasn't so good at it. I wanted to focus on other stuff. But just the act of you've got this other arm, use it, and it becomes functional in the sense that if you're working on a painting like this, if you're doing this all day, you're going to get tendonitis, you're going to get stuff happening after a few years of doing that. So it's just function. Use this other arm that you have. My left arm, and it's like a little bit with sports, left-handers are a little bit looser, like southpaws.
Yeah.
Sandy Koufax and those guys, Steve Carlton, they're kind of like loosey-goosey. And if you look, right-handers are stiffer. It's just weird how that works. So if you draw with your left hand, it might be a little, it's my Italian side, a little curvy. This is my German side, Moser, Danelli, Moser competing. So it's very straight and choppy. So if you teach yourself like drummers, it's amazing what they do, having 2 different rhythms and then a foot pedal.
Exactly.
Drawing and painting with both hands is easy compared to that. So sometimes I draw or paint with both hands at the same time, and you're just doing this.
My son-in-law is a drummer. Yeah. And when I first met him and I found out he was a drummer, I said, there's no way. He's too uncoordinated to be a drummer. And then I went and saw a couple of shows, and he's actually really good at it. But
it's so hard.
It has to be. It has to be.
So what we did a mural in New Jersey. I had a team of 3 artists from Brooklyn. It's the largest interior mural in the world. It's 200 feet wide by 30 feet tall, and it was inspired by the 2 Andes mural. They saw what I did for the 2 Andes mural in downtown. Okay. I lied about what I got paid. I think I got paid $2,000 for that thing. It was very iconic with Sarah Zeffiro. They said, how much, the woman who was curating the stadium, she said, how much, they want to know how much you got paid. I said, $75,000. And they said, all right, that's a starting point. Let's talk. And then we started the negotiating process. But the reason I brought that up is there's no flat color in that mural. It's all brush strokes. So I had to teach, I did all the heads. There's about 8 people.
This was at MetLife Stadium? Is that where it was?
No, it's called Prudential Center Arena, where the New Jersey Devils play.
Okay.
And it was under construction when I was working on the mural with the women who were working with me. I had to teach them all to paint with both hands. I said, this all has to match. I didn't want any flat color. It was going to look like a giant painting, work of art. And so but you say, you could tell if Erica was working on this area, you could tell if Alyssa was working on that area, because they're going to have 2 different styles. So we had to blend it. So we would be standing shoulder to shoulder on the scissor lift, 50 feet in the air. And then we paint for a while, and then we'd say, okay, let's switch sides. And we'd paint for a while, and then we'd switch sides. So everything sort of blended together. Yeah. But when you're beating on a drywall, it brought back the drumming days. And we started doing that. But you can create art that, if you're painting with both hands at the same time, it's like you're creating a third person, because I'm not going to paint something entirely left-handed that's going to look like that, because you got this other arm involved.
Right.
So if you can imagine that you're painting with both hands, you're creating a third person, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense. That's fascinating. Yeah. It makes perfect. Believe it or not, it makes perfect sense.
And there are times I've gotten injuries. Like I had 2 shoulder injuries 3 years ago, and a doctor said, we can schedule for surgery. You have a small tear in your shoulder. We can get scheduled for surgery. Nurse so-and-so will come in and she'll give you the paperwork. See you later. I was like, what? So I rehabbed and I didn't get surgery. I was fine. So, but anytime if you fall on your wrist and you're in a sling, well, you got to keep making art.
You got to keep making
art. So it
art.
becomes functional and aesthetic at the same time, and just give it a shot. People say, I don't know if I can do that. Use your other arm just to do the filler.
Just try. Just
feel
try.
it, get
Just
the
try
tendons
like
and
anything
arms
else.
working.
Give it a shot. You don't know until you try.
Yeah, so I have a lot of free time to think about this stuff. So
It's pretty deep.
But I think it's part of the athletic background. Again, it's like sports and the arts. And in fact, the company that I do work for that curates the sports arenas around the country is called Sports and the Arts.
Yeah. So you do a lot of those murals in sports venues.
I only did one. That was the only one. But I'll do big pieces here.
Yeah.
Roll the canvas in a tube and ship them.
Oh, okay.
Like
okay. That's the only one you painted on site.
Yeah. So it was nice because it was inside. It was climate controlled, and I did see some ghosts.
No way.
Yeah, it was. I pulled 4 all-nighters for that mural. So you're up on there's a lift in this huge arena. It's empty. There's just be a couple of security guys that would walk around in the middle of the night. So it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was looking down the scissor lift, and I saw 2 men wearing overalls and like cowboy hats or hats. It was odd, but you were used to seeing people walking around and but not in overalls. And I looked back and they were there, and I looked back and I kind of said something to them. I kind of kept painting. I'm a little delirious at this point, but I wasn't hallucinating. And I looked down, I was talking to them. I looked at the mural, I looked back, they were gone. And there's no way they could have disappeared or run because it was too vast in the hallway.
Yeah.
And I found out later that they built a site on an old horse farm. And these guys were dressed like farmers. That's my ghost story. You know, I was going to weave in a ghost story.
That's cool, though. I love it.
I listen to paranormal podcasts every day. Scared.
Listen, it brings us a whole new audience.
I've seen no shadow figures in the studio lately, but
I love it. I love it.
Painting and drawing with both hands, it's a great idea. You could do a whole pen and ink drawing with left hand, and it's going to be different. It's going to be quirky. So change it up a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Well, that's creative, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the show you have coming up. We touched on Really Big Faces, which was a tremendous success, and we were so grateful, and we really enjoyed being there. Met some wonderful people, including Andrea. We talked about who you share the studio with, and you kind of mentor her.
Andrea Traveria, yeah.
So that was really cool.
They said that 600 people came to that show.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's good.
And it was open from noon to 9, so early in the day, like families and kids came, and Energy Innovation Center is spectacular.
It's amazing.
It's like hidden in plain sight because it's just above where the old Mellon Arena used to be. Yeah. And this big building, you kind of see it when you're driving over the Veterans Bridge, and you think, oh, that's just some office building. Don't even realize what it is. It's office building, random company.
It is so cool. And there's so much cool stuff there. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's totally amazing.
It's full of innovation, but they want it to be also, it's definitely an art venue. Corey Bonet has his studio there. There's another artist there. And it's an epic space for art because all the skylights that the Brightspace Room where the show's going to be and where Big Faces was, it was sunny that day and the sun just cascaded into the space.
Nick was happy.
Yeah. And
Nick likes natural light. He was happy.
And again, that was a great way of meeting people.
Oh, it was,
reaching out to people. Can I do your face, giant? And you reaching out to people to interview them.
It was funny because you were bringing people over and saying, Jim, here's so-and-so, boom, plopping them down, and then you're going up to something else. And I'm like, hey, what do you want to talk about?
I know. There's a lot of compelling people.
But that really helped because you had me to a point where, okay, I had to find a way to interview somebody that I never met before, knew nothing about, right? Other than that they created some art or, they were a subject of the art, right? So I'm like, I had to really, and it made me better at what I'm doing. It really did. That show, that podcast was a pivot point for us. It really was. I think that, and Nick, you can agree or disagree, but I think we've been much better at this since that show. And you can tell that was a pivot point. I appreciate that, man.
You got to shoot from the hip when you're talking every 15 minutes you're talking to a different person with a completely different background, and it's
from all walks of life.
Listen, and ask questions.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was a great learning experience for us. And as I said to you when I came in, you really opened my eyes to the art scene in Pittsburgh, which I hadn't really paid attention to before. If you'd have asked me about Pittsburgh art, I'd have said Andy Warhol, and then that was it. I was done, right? And not that I was a big Andy Warhol fan, but everybody knew Andy Warhol. But there's so much cool art being created here. Not only painting, but around food, around writing, all different forms of art.
Yeah, that's why I call it creatives.
Yeah.
I don't say this project we're going to talk about. I said a call for Pittsburgh creatives because there's written word talent, there's musical talent, there's in this building there's tons of music, musical talent. There's great talent for production for TV commercials and movies here. And because my sister's a casting director, Nancy Mosser casting, so I'm aware of all that. So my personality, I'm very much a sheepdog. I like to throw parties and get people together. And you should meet this person. It's so if I had a different career, it might have been being an agent or something to get people together or something. So that was using that aspect of my personality was really big for Big Faces, because that was 84 people who I depicted, which is crazy.
That is insane.
It was 2.5 years. And that wasn't for sale. The artwork's not for sale. So I had this huge art show that I'm working on for 2.5 years that I wasn't going to make a dime from it, but I did make some money. But the idea is I would do commission work and portrait.
Yeah, sure.
So I have applied just to tie a knot or a bow on Really Big Faces. I did apply with the airport with their art, apply for a grant with the airport with their art series that they're doing. There's a $1 billion renovation project going on at the airport, and they have 2% for art. So that's a lot of money.
Really?
Yeah. So
That's cool. I didn't know that.
So I want 84 of these faces to greet people as they're entering or leaving Pittsburgh. But what better way to be greeted as you're arriving in Pittsburgh than have 84 big faces smiling at you with their stories? Yeah, Pittsburghers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So I'm waiting. That'll be. It's like over a 2-year thing, so it's not like there's a deadline. I could find out this afternoon whether we want the art displayed. So I'm holding on to all of them.
Oh, absolutely. That's a tremendous idea, and we're touching on that, looking at work there from the engineering side of my day job with GPI. But that is a really cool thing. That's a huge project, and there's so much going on in Allegheny County with Alcosan with their consent decree program. It's like $3 billion. It's a $1 billion program going out at the airport. There's so much happening, and not only in Pittsburgh, but Western Pennsylvania in general. It's just an amazing place to be right now.
Yes, and the amount of talent in this town is remarkable. And with technology these days, you don't have to live in New York or Chicago or LA. Right. You can overnight your work to a client. Absolutely. And they've got it in their hands. You can digitally send them instant photographs or video of the project that you're working on, so you can keep up communication. And why do you need to spend an exorbitant amount of rent to live in Brooklyn to do your work when you could do the same thing here and have that much more money to do other stuff?
To do other stuff.
Yeah. So, but Big Faces also, and you're a better podcaster, interviewer than you were since episode 2, and I'm a better, stronger artist for having done those portraits. So there's that aspect of it. It's like I want to challenge myself to get better. Right. But that was also a real introduction into fundraising. We had to raise $20,000 to pay for everything. Yeah. Whoa, that was like. And my fiance Mara LaRusso, we're getting married in June. I love her very much.
Awesome.
That event doesn't happen without her. So she kept me grounded, and she organized everything. And to get married to a guy who's spending 2 years on an art show, he's not going to make any money. She obviously has poor taste in men, so that's a red flag right there.
Yeah, well, it's a big red flag.
I've used that line before, so it's not new material.
But that's okay. That's okay. It's new for today.
I know.
It's new for today.
But when so with the two Andys mural, Andrew Carnegie and Andy Warhol getting a makeover, it's become sort of an iconic image of the city. It's on the Pittsburgh tour book, and we knew it was a good idea. And it led to this huge project with the New Jersey Devils with the Prudential Center. So this doing a project like Really Big Faces it's great for the soul and great PR, but it also can lead to other things. Right. And that day, another bow around that day, it was so great. It was like one of the best days of my life. It was like a wedding on steroids. And there were people that were there that I talked to that I can't remember talk to, because I was sort of flying high, because the artwork wasn't for sale. You weren't worried about sales. You weren't being judged about how much something cost. And we saw people posing by their portraits. People came up to them, "Is that you? Can I take a picture of you by your portrait?" And it was just because they all had signs beside that I crazily designed with photographs and text and talk about their lives.
Awesome.
So it was
I knew a lot of the people, and you had to log at least 9-10 miles that day, just around.
Yeah, I looked at the steps on the phone. I did look at it. It was like
you were.
It was like 9 miles or something like that.
Everyone, like I said, every once in a while you'd bring somebody by, plop them in a chair, and you throw their name out and run to the next one.
Yeah.
You know, which it was all really cool. So let's talk about this new show that you're doing April 1st at the Energy and Innovation Center. Tell us about first of all what it's about, what the concept is.
So thanks for asking. So, what camera am I on? Am I looking good? Oh, that was my first Was that my first
That was the first one. That was the first one.
We'll edit that out.
That's okay.
My first
No,
Breathe
it's
through
just
it.
raw. We got to. This is
So, and
right.
I mean, I'm not gonna say so. Last fall, I was reading an article about Marc Fogel. He's the teacher from Oakmont who was incarcerated, taken a hostage essentially in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
He has a really bad back. And so he had some vials of cannabis for pain relief that his doctor prescribed. And so he was arriving in Moscow.
It was prescription.
Prescription.
That's
totally
that's
prescription.
the key point.
Yeah,
It was prescription. It was prescribed by a doctor.
It wasn't big fat doobies that he
Yes,
arrived with,
exactly.
big stogie cigars things.
Yeah.
It was pain relief. And he teaches at the university there. He teaches history, and I think he teaches English, but he's very much a history teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he had been doing it for 10 years, I think. It was just, he's coming in for another run. And they looked through his suitcase and they found it and they put him in jail. And a year later, this was in August of 2021, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. A year later, he's sentenced to 14 years. And it's very
For
similar.
having a couple of vials of medical
for a
marijuana.
bad back.
For a
And
bad
he's the
back.
nicest guy. It's just very similar to Brittany Griner's situation. And she had cannabis in her suitcase for, I think, knee pain for playing basketball. But she didn't have LeBron. He doesn't have LeBron James tweeting about him. He's not getting his picture.
But he's got us though.
He's got us, but he's not getting on Time Magazine cover like she did, and good for her to get out.
And not to make light of your point, that is a very important point because he's languishing in prison, and his story's not being told.
Correct.
Brittany Griner was out there, and God bless her. Whatever happened, but she had advocates on a global scale.
A global scale. She had ESPN, CNN's all over it.
Right.
As
and
well,
we're
they should
talking
be.
about it all the time.
It's it's for journalists. It's a sexy story.
Yeah. Right.
It's a
You're
bad word
absolutely
to use.
right.
It's a
it checked all the boxes.
compelling story. It's going to check all the boxes. So there are a few articles about Marc, and that's the one that I was reading. And as I read further, I saw this photograph of him that a friend took when he was initially taken hostage, is what I turned. And he had this pleasant, kind smile on his face. And it reminded me of the photographs that I took of my subjects for big faces. I didn't want teeth, just a pleasant smile looking to the future. And that really struck me. And I thought, I've got to do a portrait of that. But I kept reading the article and I saw that Sasha Phillips, who was a subject in my Really Big Faces show, was one of the family attorneys.
One of his
and I
attorneys,
went, oh, Sasha. And I read more. Sasha's also a great painter and a marathon runner, an amazing woman. I reached out to her not too long after that. And I said, I just read this article. I hear you're on board with his family. I'm doing a portrait of him. I'm going to go big with it. And we just went back and forth, and I started doing it. And this is the portrait, and it's loosely based on that photograph that I saw with that pleasant smile. And I started posting it on social media, and I would hashtag free Marc Fogel, and I would attach the articles. And talking with Sasha, I just thought, let's have a pop-up show. Little pop-up show. We'll get some other artists to create renditions in whatever form of Marc. And I thought I booked the Innovation Center, and I looked at other spaces, but the Innovation Center was so great.
Yeah.
I was hoping that we would get maybe a solid 30 artists. I fantasized about 50 artists involved and getting them together and raising money and pay for it. The artwork wasn't going to be for sale again.
Right.
And lo and behold, 3 weeks after I did the call for creatives, as we called it, we have nearly 100 artists and creatives booked for the show on April 1st to create something in whatever form specifically rated to Marc Fogel to shine kind of an artistic spotlight.
And not just artists, other.
Well, they're all artists in a way, but creative. So there's a bunch of
creative.
photographers. There's a couple written
what
word people are going to write words and sentences on canvas or whatever. The digital artists are going to be doing it. Just like I said, to shine an artistic spotlight on Marc Fogel, and hopefully we'll cast a long shadow is the line that I use.
Okay.
And
That's great.
And this is a great story. I've been sending messages to we're on the radar of a Washington Post writer and CNN, and I've been sending direct messages to producers for CBS Sunday Morning. I said, I think this story is worthy of national consideration on many levels.
Absolutely.
That all of these creatives in Pittsburgh, amazing talent, are coming together to create work for this show on April 1st.
Yeah.
And it kind of is giving me chills as I started seeing the photographs of the art and that people were making.
Yeah.
And because it's caused a lot of mind chatter out. I'm not gonna lie, as they say, another phrase that we say all the time. It caused a little mind chatter saying, what have I got myself into? Oh my gosh,
I bet.
There's 50 artists involved. I got to keep up with this. And Mara LaRusso, my beautiful fiance, was organizing me. But the work on Big Faces was instrumental in preparing me for this. Because I'm going to design signs for every artist that's going to be displayed.
Okay.
One photograph of the artist, a little artist statement about what compelled them to be part of the show. But we're also getting logos and family and friend sponsorships. So people can, for $100, they can sponsor a friend's painting. And of course,
put us down. Put the podcast down.
Oh, thank you.
We're in. And we'll definitely listen. Thanks for offering up and asking us to be there. We'll be there again.
Okay. Yeah. Record. It'll be. There's a lot of great people you need to talk to.
Absolutely.
But like we're looking for an overall sponsor, and we'll plunk their logo on the upper right-hand side of each sign. It's a great way for sponsors to get feedback, or not feedback, but validation for their investment, because every sign is going to be read. People are going to look at the painting and they're going to say, let's find out about the artist, because people want something to read. They want something to do with art show. It's not just the giant portrait of a guy with a pink shirt.
Right.
Like, find out more about the person and the story. I want great PR for all the artists involved with this too. I want to shine a light on their work. And who knows, maybe other cities will respond. And there's all kinds of stories of unfair injustice, different themes, different causes. You can do the same thing. There's tons of people in the United States, I'm sure, who are unfairly incarcerated too. There's
no doubt about it.
So this is just a local story that we need to have national attention brought to. And I think who knows, I think some global attention could be brought to this. This is a global story.
Sure. I think the local news media will pick up on it, and I'd be shocked if they weren't here.
I'm on it. I'm reaching out. Yeah, we're confident that all the stations are going to cover this as they should. Right. And I reached out to producers for 60 Minutes. I said, you have 2 weeks, put something together. This is worthy. I mean, why not?
Why not?
Shoot high. But there will be times that I'll be driving in my car in traffic, and I think, what is Marc Fogel doing right now? It's 2:00 in the morning where he is. What is he doing? Right. And that sort of drives me. Waking up in the morning at 6 a.m.
And you've never met him in person, right?
No. So my old, but I've been getting messages, private messages, and notes and emails from people. When I worked for the Pirates, I was the Pirate Parrot for 8 years because I can dance. My old community relations director back in those days, Patty Paytas, she grew up with him, and he said, what a great guy is. He brought me tears to my eyes that you're doing this. And this was like 2 months ago, before any of this had really started. And I've gotten family members have reached out, and what a great person he is, and how their family really wants him back. And so that really it's been easy motivation to work on this. And it's my sheepdog mentality, where I like getting people together. I'll see artists that are 22 and 24 and 30, and I think, I can help them. I can help. This is great work. People need to see this, so I can do my little part to help them. But and it's going to be great PR for me. I mean, it's not like I'm
and that's okay.
Digging a ditch, and that's okay. Yeah,
that's a good thing. Right?
Yeah, but it's so. I'm organizing all their emails. I have their bios. I'm putting them in the folders and their photographs. I'm designing. So there's a lot of computer work and I've been doing a lot of visuals on social media with photographs of the Innovation Center interspersed with photographs of the artists. And I'll say, Susan Wagner answered the call. So I'm promoting them too, popping in their website. So they really are appreciating that.
Okay.
We're so visually, stimulated, or pictures. the written word gets ignored sometimes, but people,
Sure.
picture's worth 10,000 words. So also preparing doing these posts helped me prepare for the little bio signs that we're going to do. But we're raising money, and we're still.
How would somebody donate right now? Somebody, I have probably 4 or 5 people that are going to watch this once we publish it, and I know Facebook Live we have 1 million or so.
If my iPad is holding up, I don't know. It could conk out. I don't know. It is.
That's one of the coolest setups that I've ever seen. Yeah. I mean, it really is. Nick's jealous.
Duct tape and masking tape holding that iPad up.
The combination of the two is what it is.
I know.
You could have went all duct tape or all
hair, makeup.
Yeah, I mean,
production
awesome.
value.
Yeah.
They can reach out to me via my email address, tommosserart@mac.com, or Facebook, Tom Mosser Art. Just send me a private message on Instagram, Tom Mosser Design, @Tom Mosser Design, TOMMOSSER Design, and I'll circle back, as they say, and they can send their donation via PayPal or Venmo. My ID is my email address, and I'll keep track of everything. And on your sign, it'll say sponsored by the Smith family, sponsored by
and they can
Joe's
put a
Bar
note
and Grill.
in on Venmo.
And I'll reach back. I'll touch in, and we'll keep track of it.
Okay.
And it was really successful for really big faces.
Now you mentioned you wanted an overall show sponsor. What are you looking at for that? What would that entail?
It's all negotiable. There's not. If somebody says,
is that $1,000, $100,000?
Well,
where's your head? What do you think?
We're trying to raise like $6,000 or $7,000.
Okay.
So we think we're like $1,200 in. We're good. And I've upfronted the Pittsburgh DJ company money to hold them, and I've upfronted money to the Energy Innovation Center.
Okay.
University of Pittsburgh, a European Studies programs donated $500. It's right in their wheelhouse for their studies. So I'm confident that we'll do it, but keep them coming in.
Okay. All right. No, that's
I don't need extra motivation to get up in the morning, but again, no, the artwork's not going to be for sale. The artists are welcome to hand out business cards and sell their work. There's some artists who are going to sell their work and donate everything to help pay for the event. So there's a bunch of different ways, and we'll promote the heck out of you and make sure you get your money's worth with your sponsorship. There's also a projection screen projector at the Innovation Center. We'll have your logo projected, the overall projected onto the screen, and there's flat screen TVs where we'll have slideshows of the artist's work and Marc, photos of Marc, and we'll intersperse their logos in there too. So they'll get. My dad was an advertising man, so I'm a good advertiser.
You get it.
I can promote people. I'll promote the heck out of you. A couple mouse clicks, your logo, you're good.
There you go. Yeah. No, that's good stuff. That's all good stuff, and it's a worthy investment for our local businesses. I mean, get your name out there. I think you're going to get the coverage, and I mean. Like I said, I'd be surprised if the media, even the national media, is not all.
Come on, this is a great story.
It's a great story.
It's a great story.
It's something with everything that's going on.
It's an awful story.
With Russia,
it's a great story.
When you think about, with Ukraine and everything that regime, for lack of a better word, is doing globally, right? This is something that. You don't want this to get lost in the shuffle of Ukraine. I mean, it's devastating what's going on there with that conflict. But this is one man, right? It could easily there it was. I caught up.
There you go.
He could easily get lost in that greater picture of the travesty that's happening in Ukraine.
There are, I think, 5 Russian-born artists who are donating work to and I think a couple of people of Ukrainian background. So there's that. I mean, can you imagine being him, incarcerated, with just the awfulness of it, then finding out that Russia was invading Ukraine and the United States and Russia are going to be like this. And you think, oh my gosh.
Who's negotiating for him?
I'm really going to be held back. And now they're like tooth and nail, and there's like, testosterone everywhere. It's like, how am I going to be free? And I think, what it would be like for him to find out that in Pittsburgh, 100 artists are putting in their time in a very short period, because we only came out with the call for artists 3 weeks ago, putting in their time to create work and to shine a light on his situation And I'm getting messages from the artists. Thanks so much for including me. This is a great cause. It's a wonderful
These people
cause.
are not just jumping in. They're creating art in basically something that they're going to put out there, their brand, their talent, in a little over a month.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So
in whatever form.
In whatever form.
And it's like what I said earlier in the conversation. I'm telling the artist, you don't have to do a giant portrait of Marc like I did. Mm-hmm. You can do something that's completely abstract, but maybe symbolic, something that relates. Mia Tarducci, the great abstract painter here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's super cool too. She's got mom. She got 3 kids. It's amazing.
And she's amazingly talented.
She had a beautiful abstract painting of a birch tree. And birch trees are very common in Russia, and she related that to the story. Sure. So you can create something that's straight up portrait of Marc in your own style, but it could be symbolic of Marc's situation. It could be a figure on an island all alone, a solitary figure that's just a little wisp of a person. Digital illustration, digital collage, written word, poetry related to him, written over a photograph of him. Anything goes. And I'm very protective of the artists and their work, and I'm really assuring them they're going to keep their work. There's no hidden fees. Yeah. Just come. The fact that you're doing, they have to bring. If the work isn't as big as this, I have 40 giant easels from really big faces that will support big paintings, and I encourage you to go super big. But if you go small, you need to provide your own display easel to help us out. Okay. And that's pretty easy. Go to Amazon, buy one for $20. Sure. Just come with your art and your easel. We're going to photograph all the artwork and maybe put together a fundraising or poster or book somehow related to the situation.
I know a photographer, videographer that could probably help with you with that because he's going to be on site anyway.
Oh, there you go. That's right, Nick.
And so he tells me he's good at
it. I know he's good. The dashing and highly talented Nick. What's your last name, Nick? Altman. Nick Altman. Look him up. Tweet him. Add him. Yeah.
NFA Productions, your little production company.
We've got Jill Farrar, who was part of the podcast that you did. Yeah.
Jill's awesome.
Brilliant photographer and just a sweet lady, and she's good. Don't let her like her soft spoken. She's good. She's gets in
very
there.
Talented.
She's going to she's going to shoot the show, but she's also going to visit several artist studios and photograph artists at work with their piece, and that could serve as her piece if she wanted to, like do a giant enlargement of Corey O'Shea and his epic abstract painting that he's doing related to the situation.
We had him on a podcast as a follow-up after that.
Amazing guy. He's over in Sharpsburg. I met him through the building, but she's going to photograph, like I said, several artists at work, and she's also going to shoot the day as well. She's going to record the day visually for us. So excellent. And again, when she said she was on board to do that, it gave me chills, to do that. But I'm really, like I said, I'm promoting the heck out of everybody as best I can. I want to look at websites of these artists, and we've been talking to the Art All Night people. It looks like, cross my fingers, they haven't committed because it's a committee that runs Art All Night. Yeah. Art All Night is the 24-hour show that happens every year in Lawrenceville, except for COVID. They rent out a warehouse, and thousands of people drop off a piece of artwork, and they will display it. No censorship or what have you. So we've asked them, Sasa Phillips and I went to a meeting that they had a month ago, and we presented the idea of having a special section devoted to Marc Fogel related artwork, free Marc Fogel. And I think they're going to be on board for that. They just have to provide an area, and that's all. And we'll promote the heck out of Art All Night before our show, and after our show we'll follow up. Say it doesn't end here. Bring your artwork to Art All Night, and thousands of people come to that event every year. And I think it'll be a nice boost for Art All Night because COVID was tough on big events. In fact, I biked past Art All Night last year. I completely forgot about it. And I have donated artwork to Art All Night like 10 years, 10 or 12 times. So it's a good way. I love Art All Night. So it'll be a good way to promote Art All Night. And crossing our fingers, if they're watching, Marissa, we're on board. Come on. Help us out. Help a brother out. Yeah. So there's a lot of work to be done in the next 2 weeks. Looks like I think we'll cap the artist around March 20th. Although if they really want in, I'll let you in. But because I have to stop. I have to make all your signs.
Yeah.
Coffee. I drink a lot of coffee in there, but that'll give a good 10 days to gather ourselves and get ready for the show. And it's going to be the great unknown. I mean, we're the art supply company. They're Casey and Dave Zach are they're interior designers. They're art consultants. They're going to be there for 5 hours that Friday when artists are bringing in the work, and they're going to help me display, because my genius has vast limitations, including cleanliness. So they're going to, I know. I know.
Artists, they're supposed
vast
to look
limitations,
like that.
I know. I use that line all the time.
That's all right.
My genius Tom, you're a genius. My genius has vast limitations. No, but they're going to help, as well as some other people, the setup, where this looks best here, this looks best there. There's no bad spots at the Innovation Center for your art. So there's not going to be like the prime spot or whatever.
Sure.
We'll probably have artwork lining the hallway and easels. Their work is going to be seen beautifully, and they're part of a bigger package. So they're going to help us, the art supply company.
It's a great place for an art show. I mean, it's amazing.
And there's a lot of corporate events there. It's fine, but art events are also there.
Right.
They have a cafe there and a lunch area.
Perfect.
It's
Perfect.
perfect. Energy
Location.
Innovation Center.
One thing about your genius, and I'll tell you that my Terry Lynn, my wife, would be so proud of you, because while we were setting up, you were over here with a little paintbrush and a can of white paint,
I know.
and you were touching up in it.
I know. And behind the painting, there's a lot of crap.
She would absolutely love that, because she is actually, there were people coming over the house, and I see her like in the hallway with paint. I said, "What are you doing?" She's got there's a mark there.
I was touching into my OCD side. That's like really minimal. It's right over there. There's a little awesome. OCD. No, Andrea Chavarria, my studio mate, who I've been mentoring since around 2002. She's deaf.
Amazing artist, by the way.
Amazing artist.
Spectacular.
And she is creating a Marc as well. It's going to be really cool. So I'm learning sign language. I'm pretty good at it, but there are times I have to write stuff. So I write stuff on the walls, like work faster, trust yourself, a lot of, so there's a lot of writing that you say, my gosh, this looks like a crazed man. He's like writing, you can do better. You can work faster. Like,
that was a classic though. Going back to Really Big Faces for a second, you brought Andrea over, and you sat her down, and you said that introduced her, and then you said she's deaf, and then you started walking away, and I said, "Well, how am I going to talk to her?" And then you told me that her parents were going to sit in.
Yeah.
But when you first I'm like,
yeah.
Nick and I looked at each other like, "The hell are we going to do?"
Yeah. Start going on Google sign language. Nice to meet you. You're beautiful.
If I talk really slow.
Yeah.
But that was a little bit of a jolt for a second there. I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Then you said, "Oh yeah, her parents are coming." And you introduced her.
Like so I help her with her speech, because 6-7 years ago she got a cochlear implant to be able to hear for the very first time.
Yeah.
The sound of her mother's voice, the sound of rain hitting the roof, the sound of my singing. She got to hear for the first time, and she can tell the difference between techno music and Vivaldi. And so yeah, anytime I have a sore ankle or a shoulder or something, I just look over her and I think of what she's overcome. Yeah. So when I'm helping her with her art, it's a way for me to help out with my sign language. So the other day I was trying to say, trust yourself, because sometimes she gets a little fearful, and I'm just like, I'm a bull in a china shop, and no fear. I never have any fear with art. Just go. You can always fix it. You can always change it, because that mistake is going to be something like, oh, that's cool. You drop something. I like that. I'm going to use that. And
usually when you're creating, the mistake, you're the only one that sees it. You're the only one that knows it's a mistake.
Yeah, but when I see something, I'll go, oh. So she's like I said, she's very organized and clean, and I'm very ADD. We have these gallons of paint that you can't see. You can see. The viewing audiences live, otherwise can't see. She brought in funnels, and you could pour a gallon of paint into a container. It keeps it from spilling and coming down the sides. And so I'm looking at this funnel and watching the paint come out, and I held it and I plugged it and I went over it and I started hovering above a canvas, and the paint's flowing out. I'm drawing a face, and I think I can use this.
Here you go.
So if you see this, these line work, there's some Sharpie marker, but then there's also paint that using that technique with a funnel, I hover over the canvas.
With a funnel.
And you it's drawing and painting at the same time. And it looks like, I pre-texturize all the canvas with that technique. I'll take a painting outside and I'll hover above the canvas. I'll put a rod into a gallon of paint and the paint comes out and I'll hover. But with difference between that and using a funnel is that a rod, and I call it the flow technique, the paint will start coming out thinner and thinner. And you sort of say, okay, it's coming out thinner. I'm going to go over to the eyeball and I'm going to do some really detailed work as it's coming out thinner. With the funnel, it's the same thickness the whole time. So there's pluses and minuses with that. So yeah, she came in, she brought in a paint mixer tool, a drill with a spinning device to mix the paint. And I go, oh yeah, that's good to mix the paint with it. And I go, oh, and I hover. And I'm going, whoa. So one of my big faces, Carlos Benendez, is a physics professor at Pitt. He discovered this world's smallest black hole. And so I did his really big face portraits and I wanted to do stars. So what better way to use this spinning power tool thing? I hovered above the canvas and these little micro dots appeared everywhere. It was beautiful. You can edit that out later if you want. I don't know.
That's cool. That's very cool.
But again, it's like creativity and ideas all around you. Look at this funnel. What else can I do with this funnel that could be not just for organization and cleaning, but to create art with? So anybody give you permission to use it. So it's out there to use the flow technique.
Use the funnel. Use the flow technique.
Yeah. So also the circular technique, I call it the loop technique. Circles and loops. So if you Google loop technique, you'll see a lot of crocheting and you'll see a lot of me. There's a lot of loop. It's a crocheting thing.
That is awesome. How you doing, Nick?
I'm gonna talk you right out of your digital recording. This was good though.
Do we have anybody snoozing on live, or is anybody still there? No, we're all alone. A million people all left at one time.
I like it. No,
that's cool. That's cool. So let's.
They were there until you asked.
They didn't want us to know who they were.
But so, I guess to circle back, it's called the Make a Marc show.
Okay.
And I make your mark. It's Make a Marc with a C. It's noon to 3 on April 1st, and then there's a 2-hour break, and then 5 to 9.
Okay.
And the Pittsburgh DJ company will be spinning background tunes, and in the evening we're going to at 7:30 the University of Pittsburgh is going to have a couple of speakers, and I'm sure I'll talk a little bit, and maybe somebody from the Vogel family will talk. So in the evening we're going to have a few little speeches, and but other than that, it's going to be a night of art and hope, and to start, a runaway train at some point was just a slow moving train. Absolutely. Nobody even notices it. And then a couple hours later, it's moving. And so we're going to start that runaway train to get our government to say, let's trade. Let's make a trade. Let's get this guy home. And I would love to greet him at the airport with all the big faces and his big face when he arrives back. That would be epic. I sort of fantasize about that.
Well, when you think about, everything that's going on in the world today, and here you have basically a history teacher, a nice, kind man who had pain, did something for the pain, got his doctor, gave him a prescription for the pain, and now he's basically being, I love the phrase being held hostage, because that's what it is. He's not even incarcerated. That's ridiculous. Even if you want to, punish him in some way for having this substance, 14 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's totally ridiculous. So in closing out, again, April 1st at the Energy and Innovation Center, if you owe it to yourself to be there, not only to see this art, but just to really rally around a great cause and draw attention to something that's a travesty that really needs to be addressed.
That was beautifully said. And also shine a light on some great creatives who are taking their time out in the past 3 weeks. And it's tough making a buck when you're creating, to take your time out.
Stop by and see Nick and I. We'll be there.
Yep.
So come on and say hello, and we'll.
Thanks so much. This was great.
We'll be there, brother. Thank you thank you, and thank you to our millions of viewers and fans on Facebook, and we're looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. April 1st, the Energy Innovation Center, noon to 3, 5 to 9.
There you go.
Make a Marc.
Thank you.